We're now on Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis, and we're telling a story about Rav Yaakov. Rav Yaakov suffered from sores in his anus area, and I hope you never suffered from that. I did. It's no picnic. In fact, they wanted to do surgery, but thank God I didn't do surgery, and I was able to get back. But from time to time, it kicks in again. Anyway, Orile Rabbi Amile Rabbi Asi, Orile, and he was instructed either by Rav Ami or by Rav Asi, Lese Shev Bine Ahola Tola Vitzarele B'Chalola Debeit Sava. The cure is to take 7 reeds of a certain 7 seeds. Oh, Charlie, do you know what aloe is by any chance?
Aloe is a type of a plant.
A plant, yeah, that I knew.
Used to like help sunburn or to margia the.
So it's harga'ah, because here we're using it for anal sores.
Oh yeah, that's I guess what they had before.
Okay, so then after taking 7 seeds of this red aloe, aloe, I don't know how you pronounce it, aloe,
Vera. It's a
aloe vera of a plant.
This is, and they extract the.
Tie them up in a cloth that's cut from the neck of a shirt. The lichrich iluye nira barka. Whoa. He should wrap up this bundle with animal hair. Vitamish le binatva chivara. Dip it into something called white naphtha.
Naphtha is probably like kerosene.
Like kerosene, okay.
Or
Velikle, and then burn it up. Ubaderle ilah, spread the ashes on the affected area. But wait a second. Now the hachi in the meantime, it's till he's able to, put together all the details of this remedy. Lese, he needs a temporary kind of, sort of soothe the pain and so forth. So, lese kashyosa de asona. Now he takes the seeds of the fruit of thorn bushes and linach pika lahadi pika. Okay, he's got to place it, in his rectum area in a very specific way. He takes the split of the fruit, the place where the stem emerges from the flesh of the fruit, and he puts it against the slit, meaning the opening of his rectum. Vahani mili pika ilah. All this applies to the outer slit or the upper slit, and the ash can be placed in a direct contact with these slits. But pika tata mai, what does he do if the malady affects the lower inner slit? You don't want to put ashes over there. Is Lese, here's the alternative, he should bring tarba ditzfirta delo iftach v'lifshar. He brings fats of the goat that never gave birth, and melt these fats over heat, velishte bay, and smear the ointment. I guess after burning the fats, he gets an ointment and he has to smear it in the affected area below. If that's not possible, lese tlos tarfa kora debiyavshi betula. He should take 3 leaves of a gourd plant that has been dried in the shade, velikle, and burn them up, velivider ole, and spread the ash on the affected area. If he doesn't have that possibility, laise mishkede chalizone, he should bring mussel shells. Let's see if he adds anything here. Okay, apparently it's called limax. Okay, anyway. So he takes these shells and he grinds them up. It becomes a powder. And that's what he's going to apply to his rectum. The ilav, if he can't do that, maisi meshach kira. Okay, oil is very helpful. So now we're talking about wax oil. The linkot b'shachke, and he should wrap it up in rags of flax cloth during the summer, and in rags of cotton during the winter. Place it upon the affected area. Rabbi Avo choshbi udne. Okay, this next sugya that we're going to learn about is about maladies in the ear, right? Which ear infection, a very dangerous kind of thing. Orile Rabbi Yochanan instructed him. The Amri lay Bei Midrash, or some say Rabbi Yochanan taught this in front of the whole Beis Medrash. My Orile. What was the instruction? Ki had Yomer Abaye. We only know this from a statement that was transmitted by Abaye. Amrli, my mother. Right, Abaye was born without parents, but there was a mother who adopted him at birth, and she taught Abaye a lot of things about life, down to earth things. Lo ibre kuliyasa eli udne, right? The kidneys. I guess we're going to talk about, the kidneys of an animal here. Were created as a remedy for ear pain. V'yomer Rava, Amali Manyumi Asya, right? There's some guy named Manyumi. Apparently, he was a very famous doctor, and he told me that Kulu Shakyoni Kashu Leudne. Any liquid, with the exception of one, is dangerous for the ear. But Maya de Kulyasa, if you can take a kidney from an animal and heat it up, and then it exudes some sort of a liquid, that liquid is very healthy for the ears. Okay, so we call it kidney liquids. So this is roasted kidneys. So next time you roast a kidney, make sure that you collect the liquids that exude from it, because those could be good for an ear infection. Are you paying attention? Oh, good. And he says, what does he do now with this fluid from the kidney after he roasts the kidney? Lyse kulyasa de barcha karcha velikre shesivi arvelina amalia de nura. Right, he takes the kidney from a goat, but it's got to be a hairless goat. He rips it in an X form, places it upon glowing coals, and the fluid that comes out of it he should pour into his ear. But make sure that this liquid is neither hot nor cold. It should be room temperature, what we say. Low, and if that's not possible, then let him bring the fat of a large scarab. Okay, a scarab, he says here that you have to look in Targum. You have to know what exactly this large scarab is. Anyway, melt it, pour it into his ear. Elo, if that is not a possibility, he should fill his ear canal with oil. As we said before, oil is very healthy. We used it also for the remedy for the rectum, and now we're going to use it for the ear canal. Velevid shav, he should make 7 wicks out of green weak stalks. Let him dry, I guess, these wheat stalks, and bring dried garlic leaves, tie it with animal hair at one end of each wick, and light the wick afire, while the other end of each wick is placed in the ear, one at a time. And he should place his ear near the fire to warm it up, but be careful that there shouldn't be any drafts from wind. He should remove one wick as it's consumed, replace it with another wick until they're all used up, right? Because he has, what do we say, 7 wicks? How many do we say? Just 1 second. Yes, 7 wicks. If he can't do that, then let him bring 7 wicks of animal hair, smear them with balsam oil, set one end of fire, the other end into his ear. I mean, this is scary. And he must remove one wick and replace it with another as they are consumed, but he must be very careful about the wind. And if this remedy is not possible, then let him bring violet wool that has not been combed and place it in the ear. Let him place his ear near the fire to warm it up, but be careful from drafts. And if that remedy is not possible, then let him take a reed tube that's 100 years old. I mean, we all have that. We keep it up in our closet here. And fill it with rock salt. And then let him burn it and apply the mixture to his ear. Omar Rabba Bar Zutra, Mailin Oznayim B'Shabbos. Apparently, there's also a remedy for the ear that doesn't involve any sort of applying a a medical treatment, and that is to raise the ear. He says that the sinews of the ear can move downward out of position, cause the jaw to be dislocated, danger of permanent injury if the sinews are not raised to their proper position. Tani Rabbi Shmuel, biyad, he can do it by hand. Avalo b'sam. Okay, so as we said before, this is a remedy that doesn't require any sort of external medicines. But Ikadiyamri, some say just the opposite. B'sam, we're going to allow to do this through medical treatment, meaning some sort of a medicine. Avalo biyad. My timer, why shouldn't he use his hand to reposition the sinews of his ears? Because Mizrif Zarif, if he manipulates the sinews, he might cause a wound, or actually surely would cause a wound. So this is not a procedure that we can advocate because it's very, very precarious. Now again, we're not talking about pikuach nefesh here because this medicinal application of a sam is only a violation of an isur d'rabbanan. And that we can allow if there's no, even though there's no pikuach nefesh. Omar Azutra, etc. Ayin shemarda, an eye that's about to pop out. Muta lekochla Shabbos, you're allowed to anoint it with medication even on Shabbos. We see this as a danger of being permanently damaged, his eye, and the eyes are considered like the nefesh, so it's pikuach nefesh. Sover minei, they wanted to derive the conclusion that hani mili hu d'shech samonim espol. That would only apply if the herbs had been ground from yesterday. Aval mishchak, to actually violate the Shabbos by grinding the medications on Shabbos, and not only that, to carry it through a public domain, which means you violate also Melechas Hotzah, lo. Amalei ahumi Rabban Rabbi Yaakov Shmei, l'didi mefarshin aminei Rabbi Yehuda, afilu mishchak b'Shabbos v'asuyei derech mutter. When we're talking about a situation of a rebellious eye, which, as we said before, is a swollen eye that threatens to burst forth, that's considered pikuach nefesh, and we can violate the Shabbos and implement any sort of malachos of Shabbos because the danger of an injured eye is a danger to the entire body. And it's very similar to what we discussed before about ear infections and so forth. Rabbi Yehuda permitted anointing a diseased eye on the Shabbos. Amalu Rav Shmuel mant, right? Whoever will listen to Yehuda is desecrating the Shabbos. L'sof, right? This was Shmuel's statement against Rabbi Yehuda. He himself, Shmuel, suffered from this condition in his own eye. Shalach le shario aser. So he sent the question to Rabbi Yehuda. He had just rejected Rabbi Yehuda, but now he's in a situation where he needs Rabbi Yehuda. Shalach le lekuli al mashari. If it would have been for anybody else, I would be matir because this is pikuach nefesh. But for you, l'didei aser, because of shavya nafshech haticha d'isur, you've already accepted upon yourself the isur, believing that this is not considered pikuach nefesh, and therefore it's forbidden for you. V'chimididehu, and the truth is that when I permitted, right, doing these medical procedures for an eye infection, I didn't come up with this on my own. I was transmitting a halacha in the name of Mar Shmuel. So I'm a little confused here because Shmuel was the one who said, just one second. Apparently there's Shmuel bar Yehuda, and then there's Mar Shmuel. Ha'i Amsa Davi bar Be Mar Shmuel. The story happened that there was a maidservant in the house of Mar Shmuel whose eye became inflamed on Shabbos. Okay, I'm assuming she was Jewish, right? She cried and cried in pain. No one took notice of her. Poka Eni, her eye burst. L'mochar nafek Mar Shmuel v'darash. Mar Shmuel went out and he publicized the ruling that ayin shemarda mutal l'kochel Shabbos, you're allowed to anoint it on Shabbos. My timer The eye is connected to the muscles of the heart. So therefore it's considered a life-threatening situation. So I think if what's going on over here is that Rabbi Yehuda is defending himself by saying, what about the story of Bar Shmuel? I didn't come up with the idea. It wasn't my original thought that the eye is connected to the heart and it's a life and danger. Kagon Mai. Let's give an example of an eye infection, an ailment that would require violating the Shabbos. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Kagon Rira. Rira is a liquid discharge from any part of the body. It's called a rira. Dita, or alternatively, some sort of very painful stabbing feeling in the eye. Dima, apparently from the blood of the eye. Dimasa, excessive tearing of the eye. Vikidcha, or an inflammation of the eye. Right, all of these indicate the beginning of a rebellious eye and a danger to the life. Utchilas uchla, you can treat it because it's the onset, these are simonim, the onset of this malady. Ulafuki sof uchla. Now, what's lafuke sof uchla? He says here, to the exclusion of treatment given at the end of the malady after the ailment has already been addressed. So I guess what's going on here, that there are two stages in the malady. There's first the solving the major danger and pain. And then afterwards, you've already applied the treatment and now, it's in a sort of low profile state. And you just have to sort of complete the process by addressing residual pain. So that's not included in this permission to violate the Shabbos. Uptsuche eine. Delo. So again, any sort of medical treatment to improve vision is not permitted on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda, Zibura, he was stung by a hornet. Udechazes, who had one whose skin has been pierced by a thorn. And that doesn't sound like a life-threatening situation. Vesimta, a blister that we discussed before. Udechav le'ene, who has eye pain, jasi liye ishta. And any of these conditions cause him a fever. Kulo be b'nei sakanta. You should know that going into a bath is life-threatening for any of the above. Bathing warms the body and can elevate the fever to dangerous levels. Now, I'm a little confused about this because we usually say that if you go into a cold bath, it could lower the high temperature. Maybe he's talking not about a cold bath, but bathing. I don't know, maybe bathing in hot water. I'm not sure. Or maybe because he's exerting his body while he's bathing, and trying to keep his head above water. Maybe that'll increase the fever. I don't know. Now Rabbi Yehuda goes on. He says, Chama l'chama. Okay. A radish is a cure for fever. Silka, beets, litzina are a cure for chills. V'chilufa, but if you reverse it, meaning if you take a radish for chills or you take beets for fever, sakanta, you could endanger your life. So we have to know more about beets, more about radishes, and a little bit more about chills and fever. Anyway, he says here, eating radish chills the body. Therefore, it's given to someone who's suffering from chills. That would be dangerous. But beets heat up the body. Yeah, I wish we could look this up in Google and see if any of this is backed up by modern science. I don't know. I'd like to believe that there's some element of truth and secrets here that are being revealed that maybe a lot of people today are studying the Rambam's works on medicine. But many people are cynical about it because we don't have the same medicine that they had. Chamimili akrava. Okay, if you were stung by a scorpion, then you apply a hot compress. Ukril zibul. And if you were stung by a hornet, then we apply a cold compress. V'chilufa sakanta. If you do the reverse and you use a hot compress for a hornet sting or a cold compress for a scorpion sting, that's dangerous. Chamimi silva. Hot water should be applied to a thorn. I guess it means he was pierced by a thorn, and he should use hot water. Hot water must be applied to the wound. Although we stated before that bathing is dangerous for one who has been stuck by a thorn, this applies to bathing the entire body, like in a bathhouse. This will cause the person to become overheated. Oh, that's helpful on what we spoke about. Ukriri and cold lechaspanisa for facial scabs. Okay, facial boils. V'chilufas hakant, if you reverse it, it's dangerous. Chalal l'sibure, vinegar should be taken after bloodletting. And I'm not sure what he does with the vinegar, but it sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like he's drinking the vinegar. I don't know. Umunine lisanisa, small fish after a fast. That's interesting. Small fish considered very nutritious food, so it's especially suitable after fasting. The chilufa sakant verse is sakon. Okay, then. So this is where we'll stop. We'll stop for today, and again, a lot of this is way, way beyond our understanding, but we try to do the best that we possibly could. Have a great day. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Thursday, right? So what do? We do noon on Thursday. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.